Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome to Soulful Saturdays with Saylor. Around here, we cut through the noise, ditch the fluff, and dive straight into what matters. Spiritual wellness, a radical self-acceptance, and unapologetic soulful living. Each week, I'll bring you truth with a side of sass, reflections that wake you up, and reminders that you are glorious. So, whether you've got your journal, your coffee, or that wild, messy bun, you are exactly where you need to be. So, I'm your girl, Cindy Saylor, and today we're stepping into something that might hit a little deeper than expected because May is whispering one simple word to us: bloom. Not hustle, not prove, not perform, bloom. And if I'm being honest, blooming sounds beautiful until life asks you to actually be seen, until your voice shakes, until setting boundaries disappoints someone, until choosing yourself feels unfamiliar. That's when most women retreat. But not this season. This season, we're not shrinking to fit into spaces that we've outgrown. No, we're not. We're blooming and we're doing it fully. Here's your truth for today. Softening doesn't mean shrinking. It means staying rooted while staying open. So let me say that again because someone needs to hear it in their soul. Softening doesn't mean becoming weaker. It doesn't mean becoming quieter. And it definitely doesn't mean becoming easier to overlook. Softening means you stop living in survival mode. It means you no longer have to armor up for every conversation. You no longer have to explain your worth. You no longer have to perform your kindness just to be accepted. Softness with roots? Now that's power. Because let's be honest, a lot of us didn't become strong naturally. We became strong because life demanded it. We learned how to hold everything together, how to smile while hurting, how to carry emotional weight nobody even noticed we were carrying. And after a while, survival mode starts disguising itself as personality. You became the dependable one, the fixer, the peacemaker, the woman who says, I'm fine, while internally running on fumes and iced coffee. Somebody felt like that one, right? Somebody felt like that one. And eventually you get tired, not weak, not broken, just tired of constantly shape shifting to make everybody else comfortable. That's why this season matters, because blooming requires honesty. You cannot bloom fully while constantly editing yourself for other people's comfort. You know what? Let's read that again. Seriously. Some of you have spent years dimming your voice, softening your truth, swallowing your needs, and calling it being nice. Beautiful soul, there is a difference between kindness and self abandonment. And this season, we are learning the difference. You do not have to become hard to protect your peace. You do not have to lose your softness to find your strength. The goal is not becoming cold. The goal is becoming rooted enough that other people's opinions no longer uproot you. That's blooming, not loudness, not performance, not proving. Just finally becoming comfortable, being fully, unapologetically you. Now let's talk real because so many women say, I'm just a giver. I'm just nice. I don't want conflict. And sometimes, maybe, but sometimes that kindness is actually people pleasing, wearing lipstick. Yep, I said it. Sometimes overgiving isn't generosity, it's fear. Fear of rejection, fear of disappointing people, and fear of being misunderstood, fear of someone getting upset with us. Some of us will exhaust ourselves trying to avoid somebody else's discomfort. We will over-explain, over-help, over-give, and overextend ourselves, all while silently hoping somebody notices we're drowning. And the hard part, most women who struggle with this are generally good-hearted people. That's why it's sneaky, because it doesn't look toxic on the outside. It looks responsible, loving, dependable, helpful. People praise you for it. Oh, they will praise you for it by saying, oh, she's always there. Oh, she never says no. And how about, oh, she holds everything together. Meanwhile, your nervous system is screaming for a nap, a boundary, and probably a therapist. I mean, let's really be honest today. Some of us have become emotional support humans with cute shoes and good manners. Excuse me. And somewhere along the way, we stopped believing our value came from how much we could carry for everybody else. So what do? We say yes when our soul is screaming no. We answer texts when we are emotionally exhausted. We show up for everybody while secretly praying somebody notices that we need support too. We smile while resentment builds. We keep peace on the outside while losing peace on the inside. And beautiful soul, resentment is often the receipt for the boundaries we never set. And slowly, we disappear, not physically. We disappear emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. You stop asking yourself what you need, what you want, what feels aligned for you, because you've become so focused on managing everybody else's emotions that you abandon your own. We've become available to everybody else except for ourselves. And beautiful soul, that's not harmony, that's self-abandonment. And the truth is, you cannot fully bloom while constantly betraying yourself to keep others comfortable. At some point, healing requires you to stop auditioning for love and finally start choosing yourself too. So here's where the shift begins. Boundaries are not walls, they're anchors. Because somewhere along the way, women were taught that boundaries make us difficult. Oh, yeah. The minute a woman starts protecting her peace, suddenly people act confused. Like you've changed. You used to be available. Why are you distant? Or maybe they'll even say that you're selfish. Meanwhile, you're just over here trying to drink your coffee without carrying everybody else's emotional baggage before 9 a.m. So, beautiful soul, I want you to listen carefully. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries will often struggle when you finally create them. That does not mean you're doing something wrong. It means the dynamic changed. And can we laugh for a second about how uncomfortable boundaries feel at first? Yeah, they do. Because the first time you say, no, that doesn't work for me, you act like you just robbed a bank, or your whole body starts to sweat, or you may have to rehearse it 14 times before feeling comfortable saying it. You might even call a friend asking, do I sound mean? Then add 3 smiley faces and an LOL so nobody thinks you're aggressive. But beautiful souls, let's be honest, we are exhausted. And half the time, the other people simply say, okay, that's it. Meanwhile, you've been emotionally preparing for battle like it's the season finale of a reality show. That's what happens when you have been conditioned to believe keeping everybody happy is your responsibility. So please hear this clearly today. Your job is not to manage everybody else's emotions. Your job is to stay aligned with your own truth. That's the pivot. That's the blooming. Because blooming isn't becoming louder, it's becoming more honest. And here's the beautiful part. You can be loving and still say no. You can be compassionate and still protect your peace. You can still be soft and still be solid. In fact, the strongest women I know are not the loudest women. They're the clearest. They know what belongs to them and what doesn't. They know when to engage and when to walk away. They know that protecting their energy is not selfish, it's necessary. Boundaries are not about controlling other people. They are about communicating with you. Like, will you not continue participating in? This is about communicating with yourself and what you are willing and not willing to participate in. And that's maturity, that's healing, that's self-respect. And let's be honest, some of us were never taught boundaries growing up. We were taught endurance. Smile anyway, take it anyway, keep the peace anyway. Hey, don't rock the boat. And meanwhile, the boat is sinking and you're over there handing out snacks, pretending everything's fine. And that's actually a great visual. So no wonder so many women are emotionally exhausted. Some of us have spent years being everybody's emergency contact while completely abandoning ourselves. And eventually, your soul gets tired of being last on your own priority list. That's why boundaries matter. Because boundaries teach people how to love you without losing you. Healthy boundaries are not rejection, they are direction. They tell people, this is how I stay connected to myself while staying connected to you. And that's powerful. And let me tell you something else that nobody talks about enough. Every time you honor a boundary, you build self-trust. Every single time. So when your body says, I'm tired, and you rest instead of forcing yourself, that's self-trust. When your spirit says this relationship feels draining and you stop over-explaining your discomfort, that's self-trust. When your soul says, I deserve more than crumbs, and you stop settling for inconsistent love, inconsistent effort, inconsistent respect, that's self-trust. And blooming fully requires self-trust. Because flowers don't ask permission to bloom. They don't apologize for taking up space in the garden. They simply become what they were created to be. And beautiful soul, that's your invitation this season. Stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that only celebrate the watered down version of you. Stop making yourself emotionally available to people who are only committed to the version of you that never said no. Stop believing boundaries make you hard. Boundaries make you rooted. And rooted women, well, they bloom differently. Not because life got easier, but because they finally stopped abandoning themselves to survive it. That's what blooming looks like. Not becoming harder, becoming clear, clear about your worth, clear about your needs, clear about your peace, clear about who you are. And when a woman becomes clear, everything, everything changes. So can I tell you something? There comes a moment in life when you realize approval is expensive. And some of us have been paying for it with our energy, our confidence, our peace, our voice, even our identity. And the hard part, most of us didn't even realize that we're doing it. Because approval addiction doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like being the dependable one, the easygoing one, the strong one, the woman who says, oh, it's fine, even when it's absolutely not fine. And somewhere along the way, we became so focused on keeping everybody else comfortable that we stopped asking yourself a very important question. But how do I feel? That question right there, that's where healing begins. Because for so many women, self-abandonment became survival long before it became a habit. Some of us learned very early that being loved meant being useful, being agreeable, being accommodating, being low maintenance, being emotionally available to everyone while quietly starving ourselves emotionally. And beautiful friend, that gets exhausting. I remember a season in my own life when I kept bending to keep others comfortable. I thought I was being loving, but what I was really doing was disappearing. And maybe you know that feeling too. That feeling where you look around one day and realize that you've been showing up for everybody else, but nobody actually knows the real you anymore. Because the real you got buried underneath expectations, underneath being nice, underneath guilt, underneath fear of disappointing people. And one day, something in me said, Cindy, enough. Enough over explaining, enough over giving, enough carrying emotional weight that was never yours, enough trying to earn rest, enough shrinking my truth so other people could stay comfortable. Enough. So I want to tell you something funny. The first few times you start choosing yourself, it feels illegal. I mean, seriously. You say, no, I can't make it. And suddenly you're stepping onto you're sitting on your couch questioning your entire character. And I mean, am I selfish? Am I mean as a person? Should I have just gone? Meanwhile, your body's exhausted, your spirit is tired, and your nervous system has been begging for boundaries since 2017. Ah, healing really will have you realizing that you were never too sensitive. You were just too available to the things that drained you. That's the conversation nobody talks enough about. Because women are often praised for self-sacrifice. People clap for the woman who gives endlessly, who tolerates endlessly, who fixes endlessly. But very few people ask, at what cost? At what cost are you staying silent? At what cost are you overextending? At what cost are you constantly abandoning yourself just to keep connection? Because connection without authenticity eventually becomes exhausting. And here's what I started learning. Boundaries rarely arrive loudly. They arrive quietly, softly. Sometimes boundaries sound like, I need time to think about that. Instead of immediately saying yes because you're afraid to disappoint someone, sometimes they sound like, they don't work for me. Without turning into a 45-minute apology tour. And ladies, can we please stop writing dissertations every time we set a boundary? Some of you all are out there sending TED Talks via text message. So a complete sentence is enough. No, ma'am. No. No is actually a full sentence. And sometimes boundaries sound like silence instead of defending yourself. Now that one changes lives because healing teaches you something powerful. Not every misunderstanding requires your explanation. So let me say that again for the women, maybe in the back carrying emotional PowerPoint presentations, trying to make everybody understand them. Not every misunderstanding requires your explanation. Sometimes people misunderstand you because the version of you with boundaries no longer benefits them. That's hard, but it's true. Soft boundaries change conversations because when you stop negotiating your worth, people stop meeting the real you. Actually, people start meeting the real you, and that's what's important. Not the over-functioning version, not the exhausted version, not the sure I can do that even though I'm drowning version. The version that's the real you. And that can feel vulnerable at times. Because when you stop performing, you start wondering, will people still love me if I'm honest about my needs? That's a deep question. But when you know what's even deeper, realizing you deserve relationships where the answer is yes. Because true connection does not require self-abandonment. True connection does not require self-abandonment. Healthy love does require you to betray yourself, does not require you to betray yourself. Healthy friendships do not require constant emotional exhaustion. Healthy relationships do not require you to disappear to keep them functioning. And let me be honest, I flubbed a couple of those, and please forgive me, but the whole message here is that true connection does not require self-abandonment. I just want to let you know, sometimes I flub things and I just have to give myself some grace and ease. So moving along. Well, one of the saddest things is how many women have normalized emotional depletion. We call burnout being busy. We call self-abandonment being nice. We call anxiety being responsible. Meanwhile, our souls are over here waving white flags. This season, this blooming season, it's an invitation back to yourself, back to your voice, back to your truth, back to your peace, back to your center. Because blooming fully is not about becoming somebody new. It's about returning to the parts of yourself you abandoned while trying to survive. That's why boundaries matter so much. They are not about shutting people out. They're about finally letting yourself in. And let me tell you something beautiful that starts happening when you stop over negotiating your worth. You become calmer, not because life becomes perfect, but because you stop fighting yourself. You stop saying yes when you meant no. You stop forcing connections that drain you. You stop betraying your intuition just to avoid disappointing people. And slowly you just begin trusting yourself again. That's blooming. It's not perfection. It's not performance. It's all about presence, peace, alignment. And my friend, if somebody only loves the version of you that has no boundaries, they do not love you fully. They love your accessibility. And that one might sting a little bit. And sometimes healing sounds like truth before it sounds like comfort. And I believe there are women listening today who are finally ready to stop shrinking, to stop over explaining, to stop apologizing for needing rest, for stop carrying relationships alone, and finally to start asking, what would happen if I choose myself too? That's where blooming begins. So something beautiful has happened. I had a little tech issue, so sorry for the big pause. So back to our wonderful program, and thank you for your patience. Something beautiful happens when you soften your boundaries. Relationships, excuse me, relationships start feeling clearer. The emotional clutter starts clearing. The resentment, well, it begins to dissolve because now you're not just giving from exhaustion, you're giving from alignment. There is a big difference between the two because giving from exhaustion feels heavy. You say yes, but secretly feel irritated. You show up, but your spirit feels drained. You help while quietly hoping someone notices how much you're sacrificing. That's survival energy. Alignment, alignment feels peaceful. Not always easy, not always comfortable. It's peaceful because now your yes means yes. Your no means no. And your relationships start feeling like emotional group projects that you're completing alone. And can I get an amen for the women carrying entire friendships, entire families, entire conversations on their backs? Hello, give me a huge amen for that. You were never meant to carry everybody. And the moment you stop over functioning for others, you finally have room to breathe again. That's your shift. You stop performing and start living. And honestly, some people may not recognize you at first because they were introduced to the version of you that overextended herself. The version that never said no. The version that tolerated too much. The version that twisted herself into emotional origami, trying to fit into everybody else's expectations. Now, this version of you, the rooted version, well, she's different. Yeah, she's not mean, cold, bitter. She's clear. And clarity changes everything because now you no longer feel responsible for saving every relationship. You no longer panic every time somebody's disappointed. You no longer lose sleep trying to make sure everybody understands your heart. That alone is freedom. And can we talk about how peaceful life becomes when you stop taking everybody's everything personally, that's not cruelty, it's growth. Blooming fully means becoming okay with disappointing people who only loved your lack of boundaries. Because right there, that changes lives. And best of all, your inner compass stays intact. That's the part I love most. You stop waking up feeling disconnected from yourself. You stop replaying conversations, wondering why you betrayed your own needs again. You stop abandoning your intuition just to keep temporary peace. And instead, you begin trusting yourself again. Yes, there is something incredible, powerful about a woman who trusts herself. Not because she has life all figured out, but because she finally stops silencing her own inner knowing. That woman moves differently. She rests without guilt. She speaks without over explaining. She loves without losing herself. She gives without emptying herself. Yes. And my beautiful friend, that's blooming. No more losing yourself to be loved. No more shrinking to be accepted. No more abandoning yourself to be feeling to belong. Because belonging does not begin with other people. It begins within. You belong with yourself first. And once a woman truly comes home to herself, well, she stops begging for permission to bloom. She just does it. So, here's your Soulful Saturday challenge for the week. Before responding, before saying yes, before over explaining, before automatically carrying something that was never yours to carry, pause. Just pause. Take one deep breath before the old version of you rushes in to keep everybody comfortable. And ask yourself, is this coming from alignment or approval? That question right there, that'll change your life if you let it. Because so many of us have been living on autopilot for years, automatically saying yes, automatically fixing, automatically apologizing, automatically shrinking, not because we're weak, but because we got used to survival. And survival was a way of making self-abandonment feel normal. But not anymore. Not this season. This season's different. The season is about coming home to yourself. And friend, your soul already knows the answer. Your body knows, your spirit knows, your exhaustion even knows. The hard part is not hearing your inner compass. The hard part is trusting it. Because sometimes your compass will tell you to rest when guilt says pause harder. Sometimes it'll tell you to wake, like to walk away when fear says stay. Sometimes it'll tell you to stop over explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you anyway. And let me lovingly say this to every woman listening right now. You do not need to earn your worth through exhaustion. You do not need to prove your goodness through self-sacrifice. And you do not need to disappear in order to be loved. And I want to read that one more time for the women in the bag running entirely on caffeine, cortisol, and people-pleasing. You do not need to disappear in order to be loved. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to have needs. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to bloom beyond the version of you everybody else became comfortable with. That's growth. That's healing. That's self-respect. And yes, not everybody will understand the new version of you. Some people only knew how to access you when you had no boundaries. Some people only felt comfortable around the exhausted version of you. Now, hear this clearly. You are not required to shrink just because somebody else prefers the smaller version of you. No way. This is your season. This is your season to be seen. This is your season to be heard. This is your season to be rooted. This is your season to be soft. This is your season to be fully alive, to laugh louder, rest deeper, to love yourself better, to trust yourself again. This is your season to bloom fully, not halfway, not unapologetically, not only when it comes and makes everybody else comfortable. This is your season to bloom fully, because flowers do not ask permission to bloom, and neither should you. So this week, my friend, choose alignment over approval. Choose peace over performance. Choose truth over people pleasing. And most importantly, choose you too. Because the woman you are becoming deserves to finally meet the woman you truly are. And I'm going to tell you something. She's beautiful. Yeah, she is. And that, my friend, is our episode on Bloom Fully. This is your season. If this episode spoke to your heart, share it with another woman who's learning that boundaries and softness can live in the same body. Thanks for tuning in, beautiful souls. Take this week to listen to the whispers and remember, your soul knows the way. And as you move through your week, carry this truth in your heart. You are worthy, you are radiant, and your presence matters. And never forget, stay soulful, stay sassy, stay you. I'll see you next Saturday, beautiful soul. Same time, same vibe, same glorious energy.